takes off for a while. Yeah.
I thought you were going to ask me something else.
I call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Tahoe Public Utility District Board of Directors. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do we have any comments from the audience? Corrections to the consent calendar. There are changes to action item 6A, Black Creek Temporary Crossing Emergency Project. Red line copies have been provided for the board's reference, and the changes will be addressed during the report, and we will not have a closed session today.
Move approval of the amended agenda.
That passes unanimously. So that brings us to item 6A.
Okay, so I'd say was the continue emergency action item for the Black Creek Pipeline project. As you, I hope you were able to revise the agenda item. So the original item was amended and broadened the scope of the emergency action to include construction of the Black Creek Pipeline project itself. The reason that we are doing that is that we're hoping that it will help assist the permitting agencies get permits completed so we can work this project in September. As of today, we have a executed amendment to on the Drake's special use authorization permit for construction of the project from the Service. We also have a final bid alteration agreement for the project that the California Fish and Wildlife. And on Monday, this past Monday, Lahawton that our application was complete. So that starts the work on putting together the extension from the basic plan that will allow construction of this project. So for the water quality for water quality certification. The second thing that is that gives the okay to the Army Corps of Engineers to complete their work for preparing the nationwide to get permit that's going to be used for this project. So all this work is going on. We were hoping to start the project the day after Labor Day. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's not going to happen. So I provided notification to the TRA that we're rescheduling, and we're going to move the date another week down the road so that we finish up the permits and move forward with the project. The change is that we'll be providing notification to your PAs Wednesday, and at the end of the week we'll start installing the BMPs for the project and get the pre-grade inspection on the Monday on September 12th and get rolling with the project. So that's a long story for a short thing. That's what it is. And we ask your consent to amend the emergency action to include the construction project along with this get clarity to the emergency for the project.
Move approval, please.
I'll second that one. Thank you, Eva. Two.
Hello, second ongoing emergency, are asking to extend emergency declaration for our, the, red event response in Alpine County, and Ms. Trevor to come up and tell you a little bit of, how things are moving along on that front.
It hasn't rained out there, so I think everything's good. We had a number of meetings 2 weeks ago with Callaway and FEMA. We're not able to get pre-authorization for these, so we're hesitant to run up too much to the tab on contracts. We're looking at doing right now is our existing grazing contractor, AD-HOC. They did a bit of the venture work following Fire. They're on board, and our contract is open down, typically a bunch of silt fence work, and put it into some fire rolls, things like that to help with the road erosion control. And then our crew, we're working through their last alpha fleet. They're also working on dams inside them, and they're going to transition to focusing on activities out there. Working with Chris Hanley, also bring crew members for whether that's something that has like a Monday or Friday off or weekends, they work weeks. So we're trying to do is get the work done, but as cost as possible. We're hoping that cost will be reversible, but in the next time, we don't want to have a big contractor count there. So we're looking at renting at least a large excavator to move that work along. There's also rent a grader for the roads and ditches, and contract out into work is pretty manually intensive to get that done with concrete crews. That's kind of the latest there. Other United States, BLM should be timber harvesting area. I think it's confirmed with the bar dam at 50 Creek Reservoir. I think it's the bulk of the news.
Did you want to talk about the meeting that you listened to?
Is it okay to talk about our emergency Valley? Sure. Okay. Had a really good meeting with the Alpine Fire State Council last night. That was a public meeting, just doing an outreach. We had a clear 18 acres on the ranch. Some folks are actually nice that this TPD showed up, but very, very well received. Met the head of Alpine Association, the president, head of the Historic Society, the head for facilities, I think it's Diamond Valley Elementary School, Alpine Schools, along with a couple other kind of movers and shakers out. So it's really good to do that. We're really well received. We were a little bit nervous about how work was going to be received by the neighbors, because a lot of them casually use our property, but there wasn't anything significant that's there. So that was really good. So that work will be occurring. They're going through the sequence this fall, and it should be occurring next spring.
Thanks for attending that. We're trying to get our face down there more often and build some communities in Alpine County. We're going to touch with Alpine County Chamber of Commerce. Shelley's going to go down next week and meet with her. Just with them as quantity as possible.
All right, thank you.
And then the reason for our continuation is just to primarily for contracting purposes, so that we're able to have flexibility on their existing contract, and also to rent equipment or expeditious fashion, things like that. So that's why we're asking for the continuation. We're not asking for more money at this point, but we are asking for the continuation to primarily the SEPA clearances and also for the proceed flexibility.
Any other questions? Okay, so what I am requesting is that you continue emergency action to repair the Diamond Valley facilities per resolution 33230-2. Down move.
Second.
There's okay. Standing and ad hoc committees and documents. Tahoe, the you guys can be updated.
There's going to be a report on that.
Yesterday, that meeting was scheduled for today, but it was canceled by some easy, so we're going to reschedule the next week or two.
Reports now.
I got that.
I got one for this efficiency and sustainability meeting, we had that yesterday. It was a good meeting. I went through quite a few items. One of the things we're looking at getting into is people with me. So, I don't know if you want to say anything about that now, or if that's a good discussion, but looking at eliminating these barriers and computer systems, that's something coming up. We're looking to move forward with the climate adaptation and achieving the project with the Iowa utilities. And this, basically working with other utilities to identify opportunities for climate adaptation, concepts, ideas, setting targets, etc. And then under a little bit, we've got an update on the water conservation legislation. We'll get to Senate Bill 1157 and Senate Bill 2227, which is more related to PFAS, making Senate Bill 1157 to indoor conservation standards. And it looks like this is going to be a very busy environmental education going on as well. I'll be leading that with trips and things like that. And then we'll do a list of various grant opportunities that working through.
Yeah, to follow up on the board agendas, maybe going out paper lists. We're going to get with IT and look for some good options for the board. Bring that forward. 1.5 is on your time. This text is the act text. You get click it today and take you to that for example. So, and we'll be sure working with Brendan and others and try to bring some good solutions to the board.
Probably good. Even though I like to do it.
I never know that.
How about board member report?
Real quick, probably in a half ago, a couple of weeks, I said that Kevin Kyle's office invited his office, our staff with Shelley to schedule a tour of our district, kind of become more familiar. He's top candidate for the new Congress position here that will cover both Alpine County and El Dorado County. So he kind of needs to understand DVR operation as well as our operation here. So I don't know how that schedule is going, Shelley, but
Yeah, it's not Jeff or.
yeah, put your word in it. So that's all I have.
Just a quick one, I am meeting scheduled tomorrow with folks from Carrillo, also affiliated with CASA. Basically talk through what are some of the tariff limitations in terms of generation here on site for kind of like 1 megabyte. So, anyways, we're just going to talk and see if there might be opportunity to work with Sacramento waivers or generating renewable energy here on site.
Okay, water agency for your report. Staff and injury.
As some first on the Groundwater Sustainability Agency.
So John asked me to fill in for GSA. So
You provide a little more detail.
what I did, I made up handouts for you. A couple things that are part of the workshop talk about a little bit but the first is the piece of the slides for the update that was consultant. We outlined the investigation. The interest. Also, list of projects that we're considering. GSA, actually, I think last time I brought the GSA up to the board was only about time that we adopted the first part update the alternative plan, and that was back in April. And so since time, on April 28th, we submitted the first 5-year update. The plan was adopted by the water in the district, and we submitted that to the Department of Water Resources for periodic evaluation. What DWR did was post the alternative plan on its website, which created a 75-day public comment period, and that was on May 16th. To date, no public comments have been received on the document, and we're outside the 75-day public comment period. According to calendar, the end date should have been the end of July, but they know it's still posted and continue to post it until November 15th, which I put in my spreadsheet, and it comes out that's 175 days. So they did something wrong, and so I bring this to DWR's attention. But if within the 75-day public comment period, we have not received any comments on the document. So the item that I want to bring up, we had a workshop on August 24th, which is last Wednesday. The workshop was, I thought, very well attended. And we had a number of topics for discussion. Started off with a report, and then provided a DRI on the development of the shallow ground monitoring ground level changes in treatment environment zones. This monitoring is envisioned to take place over 5-year periods in existing and new well locations. So that was discussed during the workshop. And then we had a session on drought. We talked about ground management activities in response to drought. We had a presentation that was provided by an engineer from the Water Agency, Kurt Erickson, about the development accounting for drought plan and new requirements which affect smaller suppliers, which we have a few of them with SRSP 552. Jennifer, Lucan, and Shelley provided information on water conservation measures which are currently being used by local purveyors. Karen from DORADO County provided a brief report on drowning on permitting. They haven't had issued any permits with regard to within the sub-basin. And then I provided information from the June 2020 water supply assessment on available ground supply within our sub-basin. They had a section on Southwest Plume, and so you have the handout package or the copy of the slides from Edmund Carter. He's the project manager for ACON that is being consulted for the room characterization, so you can see latest information from that work. And then after that, Brian Gray from the local office provided a presentation explaining proposed CAOs clinical abatement orders that were issued by the HOC for requiring further investigation at Bego Tire, former Norma's Cleaners, and former Laundry Work. And then at the end of the program, or at the end of the workshop, we talked about the Sustainable Groundwater Management Grant Program. We have a new point of contact from DWR, his name is Eric Casa. And Eric was kind enough to provide us a primer on the Sustainable Groundwater Management Grant Program. The program includes $200 million for funding that is set aside for medium high priority groundwater basins. There's a minimum ceiling or a minimum floor of $1 per basin that's available, and it only requires 5% match. So that is extremely generous. Following the presentation, we did a walk through, a quick walk through the material time in the workshop of the potential projects list, which I provided to you as a handout. I also put together a scoring sheet that was looking for input from stakeholders, kind of on their level of interest, opportunities for collaboration and cost sharing on the different projects. And I want to use that to prioritize the projects and kind of maybe shortlist as far as what we would actually use in a potential funding application for that grant. That granting will solicitations for that funding are expected sometime during the last quarter of this year, closer to the end of the year, or the early part, quarter 1/1/23. What I am looking to do is in the near future, fill an RFP and look for a consultant to work with ICEA to put together an application for this grant funding. Kind of get that all set up that when that solicitation comes up, we're ready and to go after that funding. What's going on with GSAs? Be happy to answer any questions.
What's the price tag on this list?
Excuse me?
What's the price, estimated price for everything on the list?
I had not put costs to those. I wanted to first kind of get an idea as to, again, level of interest in doing it, and then pursue it. But that would be part of the funding grant process.
Have you gone through a prioritization on your own on this list?
I have. Roll to which percentage?
Top three.
Top three.
Yeah.
Well, the one that I guess as far as the top one is the GE monitoring that we've already started. That is kind of the data out that was identified in the alternative plan, and that's kind of a must thing to have, with regard to solar signal requirements. So that would be the top one, I think. Two, I did that a week ago, so and I didn't bring it with me, so.
Yeah, I was at that meeting. I thought I was repeating together with our partners. It's good to see that caliber from our agency. I think we certainly worked with them and Yesenia going after those fronts pretty hard.
Thank you, here we go. Okay. Everyone?
Next, okay, thank you. Starting with staffing, it's been busy weeks, lots of great progress. I'll just do a rundown in customer service accounts specialist position. This posting closed in July. We interviewed 6 last week and select Rachel Callis, who is working at our front counter in customer service. So congratulations to Rachel. And now we're opening for service, and we expect to begin that posting in the next couple of weeks, pretty quick here. Next for TV plant operator, reviewed last week, including 2 candidates. The panel selected one of our current operators, Aaron Buckman. He's a grade 4 operator, and he's been with us for over 15 years, so congratulations, Aaron. In information technology, the IT specialist. Interviews were held Tuesday. We had a selection and a position to really an excellent local candidate. So now I'm pre-employment vocabulary in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So great news there. And engineering, the post for asset management specialist, which is ranked old position. The posting remains open until September 12th. And we have a cross-training effort continues with 2 of our own staff. And then finally, in engineering, more broadly, I just wanted to mention, and I'm looking for word direction today if possible, with a significant increase in CIP. We're really looking at a 33% increase in terms of projects and programs, and a 43% increase in terms of dollars over that 10 years of CIP. So we're talking about department capacity and how we're going to plan, design, construct, and select all these additional projects. I've been working with Julie, and all the future projects, our own staffing, potential consulting costs in the future, relative to all these upcoming CIP projects, and looking for the best solution, especially the best financial solution for Paul and all of us. So I've been talking about bringing this to a board committee for a while, but the more we talk about it, think about it, this is kind of a big deal. There's potentially multiple new positions. So I'm really wanting to, I'd recommend that we bring this to the full board, kind of in a workshop setting in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We've kept the options committee up to date on needs in the department and challenges out there, but words of thought, bringing this to board and workshop versus one of our committees.
I don't know. It's off, so I talked about it. It makes sense. We've got a long-term capital improvement program, and this is 10 years plus. So it calls for in-house staff rather than consult. We're having a hard time hiring consultants these days. So it makes sense. I think the organization committee has typically looked at, additional staff and that sort of thing. So I don't know. So if you could talk something.
Either way, I mean, I'm sure Chris is interested also, so we're going to just start with 9 and then report out something, and you, like you said, do that in the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
For your committee, and then we'll go from there. I mean, either.
I don't know.
Just a word meeting for discussion and action.
I don't think any more committees than that. The Ops basically said that we get it, we understand.
Yeah.
It needs to go down. So the next step, I think is the organization committee and then back to full board.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm not sure about this, I don't know if he said we can do something prior to the meeting.
Okay. Check with them.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Next is the Forest Service. So if you're, I reported out on this back in May or June, but we met with the Forest Service back in May and included new supervisor Eric Walker and his key staff. I just want our board that we're following up them on a number of items, look at funding, a number of different areas. Really, I feel like the Forest Service is really trying to help us in this effort as much as possible. So we're looking for funding to abandon sewer laterals on those vacant Forest Service properties. Those laterals are causing infiltration and groundwater and stormwater entering our sewer system. And might be surprised to learn that the Forest Service owns 1,900 parcels in our service area. Many of those which have these old laterals in place, and we expect that federal funds can be made available to abandon these sewer laterals. Potentially, that's a $2-3 million project over time, and I think obviously the sooner we can abandon these, the better. So we're working with them on that project, and also fund improvements for our pumping station and sewer systems in the 4th Street area. We have 11 CIP projects in the 4th Street area between Tahoe Keys and Fallen Leaf Lake, Baldwin Beach, Cocoa Beach, etc. So this represents over 10 to $20 million on our current capital improvement program or less. So we're working with Forest Service on potential funding some of those projects. And then also, Trevor left the Trevor found something and brought it to me that Gary's looking to right now. It's California utility statute. May allow the district to $10 or $20 per parcel as an annual standby charge from, for example, the vacant service and DTC parcel. So it doesn't sound like much, but between these two agencies, almost $5,000 so that would be $100,000 per year. So doing some study in house, you're going to take a look. Gary, anything more at this point? You just came up a couple of days ago from me.
Have we checked with the other PUDs to see if they do it?
I sent yeah, I did. I checked I just heard back from Tahoe City and they said no. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. Let us know how it works out. So, I'm not sure. I didn't hear back from North Tahoe yet.
That's interesting because
there's only South Tahoe, North Tahoe, and Tahoe City were the only ones mentioned.
3 agencies, yeah, 3 PUDs.
And we didn't have anything currently to do with it.
I wasn't where we were called. I wouldn't have done. So I told John we had an social alleged history on it, so we can see who started and what they were thinking and what the reminder for it. We'll see what that says. I'm probably giving you a report in the next board meeting.
Yeah, and I'm planning to force staff get back together, force our service and district staff get back together, perhaps over, and just keep the ball rolling in all these areas. So none of these are new issues. We've been trying to get these laterals abandoned for 10 years or more. But we're just working with the Forest Service, with the new team, and looking for new funding solutions. High expectations, no guarantees yet, but I think obviously well worth the effort. There's more to come on that.
Yes, sir. There's the physical abandonment. Sounds like that's what you're working on primarily, but the administrative abandonment we talked about before. If they surrender those connections, can we reallocate those to low-income housing?
Yeah, there's sewer units out there on all the goods.
So if there's an administrative surrendering of those connections, can we then put them in the kitty for reallocation somehow?
That's on our list. It's on our ask.
Yeah. But that doesn't really rely on the Forest Service to do that, or do we need some sort of a agreement from them that they?
I would think so, because they own the lots, so they own the sewer units.
Yeah.
But they're not really of any value to the Forest Service, and really they're not of any value to anybody unless they're going to transfer them to their own project. Well, they can only transfer them out to a affordable housing project as defined by the city. Or county, I suppose. So,
Yes, if we start capping all these laterals, does that no longer give us the ability maybe to generate, collect fees on those?
we're not collecting, from the Forest Service.
I guess this concept of collecting fees from.
Yeah, we're not collecting, the $10 or $20 per parcel. I don't know. Yeah.
We'll see what comes out of that.
Yeah, what is, what was it, the terminology, vacant parcel? That's not good, but standby charge, like, what does that apply to? Gary's gonna look into that.
Yeah, they call
background.
it, the statute calls it a standby charge, but it says it's applicable to all parcels within the district, which doesn't quite make sense to me, because you'd think the standby would be for parcels that weren't receiving service yet. But that's not what, at least on the plain reading statute, it doesn't appear that that's correct. So that's why we're gonna pull the legislature and see what they, the rationale, what they're thinking as to where the standby charge should be applied to.
And I would think before we adopt that, we'd want some nexus to cost. Or at least I'd want to see some nexus to cost. We're gonna, add that fee to some or all parcels.
The statute vaguely references, because the cost of sewer service and exporting stuff out of the basin, that's what's kind of look like some sort of rationale. But again, I'm hoping that the history will provide some guidance on what we can, where we can charge it and what it exactly was supposed to be used for. And that will then form the basis, because you still would have to have a comply with Prop 26 setting those rates. So you're going to have to go through a cost analysis anyway.
It seemed like that was just looking at the sewer side.
Yes, that was strictly on the sewer side.
Oh, okay. Because one of our arguments has been on the water side, our water systems there, protecting for service and other properties, whether they're developed or not. So we'll keep working that side. Okay, continuing a little bit with the Forest Service, really something that is certain is that $1.1 million in grant funds will be coming to the district this year for the first time ever from the Forest Service as part of the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act funding. I've talked a little bit about this in recent months. This is the result of, I'd say, about 18 months of focused work with our water partners in Tahoe City and North Tahoe, especially. This is a partnership we put together about 2 years ago, along with our own federal lobbyist, ENS. So these funds are coming from that up to $7 million that I talked about from the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act this year. We've worked with the Forest Service in Vallejo, Region 5, so they now have $2.1 million towards that $7 million. And we'll be receiving half of that with our two projects, $1.1 million, which will help us pay for the construction of the 2022 Bijou and Bowers Waterline Project and the 2023 Blackbard Waterline Project. So, Lake Tahoe Restoration Act's been in place for 24 years. So this is the first time ever that the district will have received funds from the Lake Tahoe Restoration Act. And really, not only that, for the first time ever, water infrastructure will be included in the LTRA program in every future year. And so we're working with our partners already on a $15 million request for 2023. So great news and really a significant achievement. And I think much more money to come. And lastly, Tahoe City PUD. We hosted staff from the Tahoe City PUD here last week, talking about the Caldor Fire, our emergency planning, response, and recovery efforts. We talked about our emergency action plan, emergency operations center, lessons learned during the fire, ideas for the future, and ideas for, I think, for the district to connect and collaborate with Tahoe City, North Tahoe, Tahoe Keys, Lukens, and others working together on planning and resiliency efforts, mutual aid agreements, and really opportunities for us to assemble emergency supplies and equipment, like protective clothing and equipment, generator sets, pumps, pipes, hoses, fund these collectively and perhaps with grant funding. And these would be somewhere in trailers, all ready to go and available to any of our partners. And I've talked to Lake Valley in the past month or two, and they're interested in being a part of this effort. So anyway, with Tahoe City PUD, this is really another great connection with them. We brought this Caldor Fire Show. I think Julie and Shelley brought that to North Tahoe PD back in June. So we're really looking to expand our coordination and collaboration with our regional water and sewer agencies. And into my report, unless there's any comments or questions.
Does anybody have anything else? So you see the past and future meetings, and I do want to mention we have a special board meeting a week from today at 2:30. And if there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.